Welcome to this live video where I am joined today by my collaborating business partner, Sarah Korzynowski, also known as the Organic Dietitian on the social media channels. And together we're going to be discussing Revealing the Unrevealed, the story that our hair tells about our health and our life. And we're just going to dig right in. So a foundational catalyst to healing from anything is awareness. In other words, we can only heal what's revealed. Or as Carl Jung taught during his time, until we make the unconscious conscious, it directs our life and we call it fate. But I'll add, it also directs our health. Or in the functional medicine world, there's a common expression, test, don't guess. Now, Sarah and we embrace all of these things, no doubt, within our functional health coaching practices, in our work with clients, which is why we use a combination of strategic functional lab testing, energy testing, and dynamic transformational coaching in order to open the window of awareness as wide as we possibly can open it.
Yeah, and you said strategic lab testing, which is a very important word because we really want to get the biggest bang for our buck in helping clients guide the process of healing without burdening them financially. Because I know you and I, when we both started as health coaches, typically ran the exact same 3 to 5 lab tests right out of the gate, which can cost thousands of dollars and often lead to huge supplement protocols that are very overwhelming, and trying to treat every possible stressor that the person is dealing with all at once, which can actually cause not only overwhelm on the person, but more stress within the body. So now, after many, many years in this business, I know you and I have really come to value using hair tissue mineral analysis tests as really the first out of the gate test, because it's not only most cost effective, but it can give us a lot more information that no other lab tests we found were able to uncover, and to really help open clients' eyes to factors that are impacting their health, not only from a physical perspective, but from a psychological perspective. So it really helps to cast a wider net when we learn to interpret it and implement it properly, which is why we're here talking with everybody.
Yeah, and so today, Sarah and I are going to share a list of things that the HTMA can reveal about our health and our life that other labs really can't do. So let's just dig in. Number one is that a hair tissue mineral analysis provides markers for all bodily systems and how they are functioning at the cellular level, all in one place. So I'm talking metabolism, nervous system, HPA axis regulation, digestive function, thyroid, sex hormones, energy production, immune function, blood sugar and insulin, detox capacity, and more. To my knowledge, there is not another functional lab test on the market that can give all of this information in one sitting for under $150.
Yes. And number two, you mentioned the nervous system, which we know is a huge factor and massively important on the healing journey, because unless the body feels safe, more often than not, we can't really heal from anything. So HTMA can really help provide insight on the state of one's nervous system, whether they're tapping more into their parasympathetic, sympathetic, or oftentimes, as you and I see with clients, both, where their body is trying to break, but they're still constantly going, as well as if they're really dealing with more acute or chronic stress patterns.
Yeah, and it can even show someone dealing with both. You can be in a chronic stress pattern, but also be spiking acute stress responses. So that's sort of likened to having one's foot on the gas pedal and the brake in the car in a snowy parking lot doing freaking donuts. Mm-hmm. No one is going to move forward in their healing with that going on. Number 3 is a calcium shell, which is where calcium starts to be pulled out of bones and teeth and accumulate in soft tissue, where it is literally turning the body kind of in and the arteries into stone. This is a huge trauma marker, but it's also a huge risk factor for strokes, especially in women. No bueno, no bueno, no bueno. And there is no other test available that will show a calcium shell like the HTMA.
And we can't depend on blood, right? Because it's just
No.
a transport medium, so not going to show up there. Number 4 is issues with biounavailable copper, or some call it copper toxicity patterns. And we don't always see it obviously on the HTMA right out of the gate, but there are patterns that we teach that help to give clues and insights into whether it could be an issue for a client. And this is really a huge epidemic these days and is highly linked to mental health issues, yet is widely overlooked. And again, the population is struggling more and more these days with mental health issues. Lots of people with anxiety. I know a lot of your clients have it. A lot of my clients have it. And, we're just told to take prescriptions or go to therapy, but, not being able to address some of these underlying factors. And due to stress, due to overuse of things like birth control, blindly supplementing with multivitamins that have certain nutrients in it, passed in utero, so many different factors are causing this copper issue to be more and more prevalent these days. So us as practitioners really need to know about this stuff.
Absolutely. And number 5 is that the HTMA provides a really big picture look, not only into physiology, but psychology, showing mental and emotional patterns that will impact one's physiology. As Sarah and I have come to learn through many hard lessons, is that psychology and physiology, they are intimately connected with one another. We cannot heal one without the other. And the HTMA provides tangible evidence of both that you can literally use, show the client and say, look, this is what's going on cellularly with your physiology. And this is what it's pointing to in terms of your worldview, your mindset, the emotional stressors that you're holding in your body, and how they are overlapping and impacting one another. So it's just really a great coaching tool.
Yes, yes, yes. Number 6, the impact of trauma. Now, we know that trauma, unresolved trauma for that matter, is often one of the biggest root cause factors for just about any health condition. And I know for me, it was in my blind spot for many years. I thought for sure I didn't deal with trauma. I didn't, go through any sort of big, massive event in life. But the more I learned about it, the more I really realized that, it was showing up for me in many ways. And when we don't resolve trauma, where does it go? It really goes in the body, and it results as more dysregulation, more dysfunction, which then correlates with a lot of health conditions. So with the rise in chronic health issues that people are suffering, and healing is becoming more and more complex, we can no longer just recommend supplement protocols and lifestyle changes for healing to happen. We really need to also make sure that we're very trauma informed and trauma skilled. And HTMA is one way that we can help, again, kind of uncover these issues that clients might not really be aware of, because minerals and toxic elements often are mirrors of the mental and emotional body and are going to be very impacted by trauma. So it's one way to help bring the conversation and help them see that these things might very well be affecting them, but then us as coaches having the tools to work with clients that are dealing with those factors.
100%. And number 7 is the capacity of cells to hold a charge and produce energy. So often we hear that chronic inflammation is the underlying root cause of chronic disease. And I'm not going to say that it's not. However, before chronic inflammation comes a depletion of cellular energy reserves. Because if you think about it, cells need energy to perform their jobs, just as people need energy to perform their jobs in a company. And when the energy system becomes impaired, which will be shown on an HTMA, even long before symptoms might be manifesting, it is paving the way for chronic inflammation to unfold in the form of immune system dysfunction. So now we're going to start collecting toxins in the form of impaired detoxification. We're going to start collecting infections in the form of impaired detoxification capacity. So now we're going to start becoming an accumulation of different toxins, heavy metals, chemicals in the environment, and so forth, and just around and around. So without ample energy in the cells can't do their jobs. And then chronic inflammation is the next to start unfolding.
Yeah, and we need energy to heal, right?
Oh, sure do.
And number 8, we can also assess the ratio of nutrients, so proper nutrient minerals, to toxic elements, because when we do start to accumulate those toxins, guess what it's going to do to minerals? It's going to block our ability to use them properly, because minerals and metals are both on the periodic table. And when the body is deficient in minerals, it's going to hold on to whatever it can. And then we start to reserve and hold on to more of those toxins, which are going to affect our health as well.
And number 9 is that there's no other functional lab investigation like the hair tissue mineral analysis that allows for a look into the monitoring and working through the different layers of healing and progress patterns, such as a settling down pattern, kind of showing the body is settling down, which may look like negative on an HTMA, but it's actually a good thing. It's showing that you were coming from a very high stress state and now things are settling down. And there's another pattern also known as a coming alive pattern. So maybe your first HTMA, you were like in complete burnout, very parasympathetic, in shutdown mode. And then the next, it's kind of showing ramping up a more sympathetic drive. And people be like, oh my gosh, now I've swung to the other side. But it's really the body waking up. And there's just no other lab investigation that shows these subtle patterns if they are interpreted correctly and skillfully through the lens of psychoneuroimmunology and explained in a articulate manner to clients.
And number 10, well, we could spend hundreds of dollars on a stool test, to which we know stool tests can't be taken as black or white. I see that mistake being made a lot where, oh, this infection showed up, so it must be a problem, I have to kill it. Or this didn't infection show up, so it must not be a problem for me. We know that we cannot perfectly look inside the gut with stool testing. And stool tests can be very, very expensive, but we can actually assess digestive function on an HTMA test. So we get a better idea of maybe how much stomach acid they might be producing. Are they not producing too much, which we know is important for proper digestion? Are we struggling to digest protein and utilize protein? Is the liver under a lot of stress? So there's a lot of patterns that we can look at on an inexpensive, simple hair test that start to point to digestive issues that we can start working with clients before potentially diving in and spending a lot of money on a stool test that may or may not ultimately really uncover the big picture of what's going on inside of the gut.
And I'll just add to that, we don't need to spend $400 and some odd on a GI map to know that someone is dealing with gut dysbiosis and chronic infections like parasites. That is pretty obvious in their history and their presenting symptoms. And just FYI, anybody that's got chronic issues, I can tell you that they've got digestive dysfunction, dysbiosis, and chronic gut pathogens going on. So we can save a client's $400 and some odd and get just as much, if not more, information through the HTMA. So basically, all in all, the hair tissue mineral analysis provides, in our opinion, the most thorough depiction of epigenetic expression of any functional lab test available, for the price. In other words, minerals don't lie. How minerals and toxic elements are distributed in our hair tells a very detailed story about how environmental inputs, such as our lifestyle, our daily habits, our relationships, our mental and emotional patterns, our past traumas, and more, are playing out in our cellular function.
Yeah, this makes HTMA an incredible tool. And I know it's Jen and Mai's favorite. Clients love seeing this information. I get a lot of clients who are like, wow, you explained me to a T. This is very validating. And it really helps to add to the coaching toolkit. I know when I first started out in this business, I took many, many trainings where, yeah, I learned to interpret labs and create supplement protocols and give them a lot of lifestyle tips. But sometimes that helped. Today's day and age, it's getting a little bit more challenging because a lot of people struggle to actually take action and they're not really diving deep enough into root causes. And so by using the hair tissue in a proper way and really using it from a transformational coaching perspective and co-creating solutions with clients and really figuring out what's blocking them from making changes and being consistent with them, raising awareness, revealing the unrevealed, and helping them to make that unconscious conscious, because we cannot work on what we're unaware of. So utilizing this test, interpreting it from the highest level possible, which again, Jen and I took a few different HTMA trainings between the two of us. And while all of them definitely had value, really none of them dove into the psychological aspect as much as we are going to, and didn't really provide as much of the coaching tools as we are going to, which is really where the magic happens with HTMA. So it's not us sitting here telling the client, here's your protocol that I created for you based on your history, based on your lab tests. Here's the supplements you got to take. Here are the lifestyle factors I want you to implement, and then go off and conquer. It's really empowering clients to step into their power, to become their own best self healers, because nobody can heal another person. We are responsible for our own health and wellness and the actions we take, the thoughts that we think. So we can't do it for them, but we can show up and be a mentor and guide to them on this wonderful journey of becoming their own best self healer. I want to share this really quick. Jen, I had a client meeting yesterday and she told me, I wrote this down, I'm making a new me, a better me that's putting me first. And she did it. I couldn't do that for her. And so that's what good coaches are all about, right?
Oh,
So, yeah.
And I'll just add to that and say that all the best labs and all the most cutting edge, most expensive supplement protocols and detoxes and all of these other biochemical only protocols, they definitely have a place, but they will not yield long-term sustainable healing if the underlying metaphysical stressors that made the person a vulnerable host in the first place are not revealed and adequately addressed. Not going to happen. And I say this from firsthand experience because I spent 15 plus years and upwards of $500,000 out of pocket trying to force biochemical only protocols to heal me from chronic Lyme, mold illness, chronic fatigue syndrome, mast cell activation syndrome, and the list goes on and on and on. It just doesn't work. And I see it with my clients. So the big question is how can you learn how to become a minerals, mindset, emotions, and bodily systems balancing pro? And our answer to that is with our upcoming holistic HTMA Pro training, which is going to teach the interpretation and implementation of the hair tissue mineral analysis test through the lens of psychoneuroimmunology, epigenetics, whole person, whole system, nutrient balancing, and transformational coaching. It starts next week, Wednesday, September 13th at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And the doors to enrollment, along with our 50% beta pricing, which is never going to be available again, ends tomorrow at midnight. We're going to go ahead and drop a link in the first comment below for you to check out more information if you'd like to learn more, and hopefully we'll see you in the training. Sarah, do you have any closing remarks before we wrap this live up?
Nope, just don't miss out on this opportunity.
Yeah, it's literally going to be both personally and professionally enhancing for you. We guarantee it, and we're super excited. We put our heart and soul into this training, and we hope to see you there.
Yeah, it's the training I think we wish we had, right?
Not think, it's definitely the HTMA training that we wish we would have had when we learned HTMA. Okay, yes. So we hope to see you. Thanks for joining us live if you did, and adios.